All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how I helped a law firm to generate at least $180,000 a year in additional return on ad spend by optimizing their website and optimizing their Google Ads account and actually running it properly. So what I'm going to show you in this video are the numbers behind this. So the Google Analytics and the Google Ads accounts, you can see the numbers in there. I'm not going to reveal who exactly this is for the privacy of the client, but I'll show you in principle what I did, and I will explain to you what I did, why I did it, and then what the numbers actually look like. So firstly, if you take a look at the general overview of what happened here, I'm going to show you this is the Google Analytics account. So basically what happened previously is they had somebody else running their Google Ads, and they were just running the Google Ads and running it straight to a very general services page. They just had a brief paragraph on each of their services, and I don't think it definitely didn't have a form, and I don't even think it had a phone number on that page either. And so if you take a look here in the beginning of 2022, this was before I jumped in, you can see here that this was what they were getting previously. Now the dark blue line is the amount of leads they were getting, and the light blue line is the conversion rate. Now, I don't actually know what conversions were tracking back then, so I can't even tell you for sure what they were even getting, but I'm going to assume that it was on phone number and form submit and email, which is what I have, because the numbers look like it would be that. So I'm going to assume that that's what it was. But basically what was happening, if we look here, is they were getting around, let's say February, 8 conversions, 4 in March, 7 in April, 9 in May. This was before I started working with them, and then 4 in June. That was just before I started working with them. And you can see that the conversion rate was like 2 point something percent, 4 point something percent, 4%, whatever. Now, if we take a look at the old ad account, this is the old ad account, and you can see here that the conversion rate for the period of approximately a year and a bit before I started working with them, you can see the ad stopped in July. That was when I took over. The average conversion rate was about 4.73. Now, if we take a look at the ad account that I'm running for them, you can see here that the average conversion rate is 13.22%. Now, the conversions are counting when somebody submits a form, clicks the phone number button to call them, so it opens the dialer on their phone, or clicks the email to send them an email, and we don't get many of those. It's primarily the form submit and the phone number. So how did I actually do this to increase the conversion rate by, it's about 5 or 6 times, I believe I increased the conversion rate, which basically means that they're getting 5 or 6 times as many people contacting them and becoming a lead for the same amount of money. They spent the same amount of ad spend when they were working with me as they did previously. But if you look at the chart here, this is the overall. If we take a look, this is the paid chart. So you can see here that as soon as I took over in July, it doubled in conversion rate. And then since the beginning of this year, when we made some changes, which I will go into, you can see here that the actual conversions absolutely shot up, and so did the conversion rate, where it went as high as 29% in January, and it's been hovering around 15 to 20% ever since. You can see that it's hanging around here. Now, how did that actually happen? Well, I'm going to show you how I did it in principle. So if we take a look here, I've made a little graph to explain this to you. Now, I also went over this on search intent, on my video on search intent. I'm going to put a link to that above. But basically what happened here was previously, this was what was running previously. So if we zoom in on this, they were running ads for various different services, and they were sending them to one landing page, which was a very basic landing page that basically had all the services jumbled up together. And so what would happen is a person would click the ad, they would see the topic, hopefully, because I don't know what the ads look like, but they would click the ad and hopefully see the thing they were searching for. Let's say it was conveyancing or property law, whatever the case was at the time that they were running the ads for. And then they would land on a landing page that basically just it was not a lot of information. It was like 1 to 2 sentences on each service, and it just threw them all at the person. And so basically the flow went like this. No matter what the people searched, they just got taken to this basic landing page that was all mixed up together. And so one of the main things that made what I did work is that I changed it from this to this. And now what this is meant to signify is that what happens now is, let's say the red square is family law. Let's say the blue square is will disputes, like will and estate disputes, and let's say the yellow triangle is litigation. So now, instead of sending all of those ads to one very jumbled up page that just summarizes what's going on, I'm sending each of these ads to a page that goes into detail and gives them a lot of information about only that specific topic. So it shows them exactly what it is. So let's say if it's family law, it tells them that they do family law. It tells them exactly what areas of family law they do. So for instance, divorce, child custody, etc., whatever the different areas are. It gives them social proof and testimonials. It tells them where this law firm is located, what the address is, and then it gives them the contact form on that page and the phone number on that page they can call from. This is exactly what this page previously didn't do. It didn't give them any proof. There was no testimonials or anything like that. It gave them only very basic information about all the different topics. It didn't give them any social proof. It didn't tell them where they were located, and it didn't give them any means to contact them. So basically, they were giving them a very small amount of information and making it kind of difficult to even get in contact with them or see. Basically, the customer had to work to find out if this was a good law firm, if they should work with them, if they had experience in this particular area, where they were even located, and so on. Whereas I laid it all out and gave them everything they needed to know on the specific topic that they searched. So like I said, family law, if it's litigation, if it's will disputes, whatever. And this key here, this graph here I'm showing you, is exactly the key to doing something like this, because doing this just gives people not enough information to work with, and you turn a bunch of them off. Whereas when you do this and segment it into very specific topics and it's focused on the topic, you get a much, much higher conversion rate. And you can see by the graph here, this is the paid traffic one, that it just absolutely shot up when we did this correctly. And even from here, when we first took off, before we got super results, these are still great results. It's still more than double what they had previously. You can see here that the conversion rate jumped up from around like 4% to 9%, and then 8%, and then about 5%, and then 11%. Whereas here it was hovering around 2, 4, 2, 1.9. You get the idea. So it doubled, and then we shot up even more here. And the reason why this shot up is because at this point, we started testing out different areas of law. So right here, we were testing out a few areas they wanted to advertise initially, which was conveyancing, property law, things like that. And then over here, we started testing out different areas of law there was more demand for. Most notably was family law. And that's when this really shot up, when we started running the family law ads. And now we're also running a few other areas as well. But basically, it's in demand. So there's two key things that you need to know here. One is that you need to sell something that's in demand. And I've spoken about this before. So if you're trying to run ads for something that the market's just not really that hot on right now, like for instance, conveyancing and property laws to do with property transactions primarily, but where they are, the property market is kind of tanking, as it kind of is everywhere at the moment. And so that's slowed down a lot. So you can run the ads all you want, but it's not going to be as profitable. That was kind of why we still got better results than before, but they weren't as amazing as these. So when we switch to the service that people are looking for in high demand, that's when that shot up. And now obviously that combined with this principle, which I've just described to you here, which is exactly giving them in detail what they're looking for, that's how you get such a high conversion rate as this. And now if we take a look at the overall website as well, because I actually rebuilt them, the whole website, optimized all the different pages and everything, what actually happened is the organic search shot up as well as the paid. And so now what's happening is they're getting around 90 to 100 conversions a month on average. If you see here for the last few months since the beginning of this year, basically, they're hovering around 93, 91. This one was 73. Then they shot up to 110, 90, so on. So that's what was happening there. And now why I'm saying $180,000 a year is because, so let's calculate that on average, absolute worst case scenario, that one of these cases is worth $1,500. Now in reality, for family law, for will disputes, and for litigation, it's usually well above $1,500, but I'm giving you an absolute worst case scenario for this video so that it's undeniable what I'm telling you here. They're getting around 100 leads per month, as I've shown you here, based on what I've done. So if we go 15 times, let's say they only get 10% of the people they're getting from these 100 leads. Only 1 in 10 actually convert into a case. In reality, it's a lot more than that. But let's say, again, worst case scenario, I'm trying to make it undeniable as possible for this. Let's say they only get 10 per month. That's $15,000 they get in return, and they were spending $1,000 in ad spend, which means that they're making $14,000. So minus 1,000. If we times that by 12, you get $168,000. The reason why I said 180 is if it's 15,000 times 12 was 180,000. 180,000. Now, that is absolute worst case scenario if the cases are only worth $1,500 a month and they're only closing 1 in 10. And in reality, some of these cases can be well into the several thousands, if not tens of thousands, especially for the litigation and will dispute stuff. And they're closing more than 1 in 10. But I'm giving you absolute worst case scenario from this ad campaign. They made $180,000 based on the things that I did to the website and the ads. So this is the sort of thing, this is additional revenue to what they were doing before. They weren't making this much before because, as you saw, they were only getting about 10 to 20 leads per month before I jumped in and made these changes. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. This is the kind of result that you can expect when you make a website and an ad campaign properly, optimize it all properly instead of running it just to a generic page and get very few leads. You can literally get 6 to 10 times as much people coming through the door and making that much more money by optimizing it correctly. So I hope that this video has given you an idea of what is possible, and not only what is possible, but how to do it. Because this is the key principle here. This chart here is the key principle behind why this worked so much better than what was happening before, which is this, and then separating it into this is this. Now, I show you how to do all parts of this chart here in practical steps in my other videos. So if you haven't watched my other videos, go and watch the campaign setup, Google Ads campaign setup. I'll put a link to that above now. And then the second video you want to watch is the landing page setup, which I'll put now a link as well, because those two will show you how to actually set up the Google Ads campaign in exactly the same format that I did for these guys, as well as how to set up a landing page, which I also use the same format for this particular case as well. So go and watch those videos if you want to get results similar to this for your Google Ads and your website, and I'll catch you on the next video.